All right, so I'm going to do another update on where I am with silver and USAS, Silver in America, Silver Core. As I mentioned in my previous video, I am very bullish on both of these. I do think silver is going to correct down to the 72 area, maybe like 68. And then the next leg up, I expect 89. After which I see a pullback, who knows where at this point. And eventually I think silver will end up 130 to 150 within the next year, possibly even by the end of the year. And then my target for USAS, when silver hits 130, if it hits 130, right, there's no guarantee, is like anywhere from 12 to 20. And so this is not just me. I'm not the only bull on silver. So I think yesterday or today, the Bank of America came out and projected silver could reach 135 to 309 by the end of 2026, citing structural deficits, obviously like supply, rising industrial demand. And then we have things like war, gold price stalls, the recession, all these kinds of things that could be some risk. But I'm bullish on silver. And so this is kind of the wave structure we're at here. I think that the last, 60, 85, I do think we could see that again this year, or 60 area. We have right now, we're around $75, or like the last time I checked, I haven't checked it within the last hour. It was around $75. I'm targeting 72 or below for my next swing. And then I'm going to be taking profits around $89 to $90. Eventually this year, or within the next year, I see silver going to like 115, 150. But obviously, as I mentioned on the previous slide, there are some risk. So just this is one of the charts from Wave Basis Pro I was looking at for USAS. And so you can see there is a target of 1245 over there, even though there are some risk. One of the risk is like really low. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do see, so I had mentioned in my last video that I was scaling out. I took most of my positions. It didn't hit that $7 area, but it went over 6. I still have a position from 527, which I'm getting close to there. That's my long position, but my swing position was closed. And now I'm going to be looking to initiate a new swing in the 427 to 498 range, which I expect when silver pulls back to 68.72. So you can kind of see this right here, 72 to 75 on this chart, expected pullback. But it could even get a little bit deeper over here with the 66.72. And so this is, I mentioned, it's probably my biggest position right now, USAS. I do manage my risks, so it's not like my whole account or anything, but it is my largest position this year. I am very bullish on metals and space stocks because of the Space-X IPO scheduled for this summer. And so I kind of see, if you could get it at 427, I think that'd be a great entry. There's no saying that it won't go to 2 or something like that, but I'm confident I'll see upside if I hold it, because I do see silver, if it doesn't happen this year, the next year or two, I do see it going to the 130, 150 range. So that is my target, is 1245. I'll probably start scaling out around $11. And I might have some runners to see if I can get to that $20 range. Because obviously that's like everything goes amazingly. They also have some antimony, which I don't think they've been re-rated for, or I don't know how much that's like played into their price. But I have seen what it's done to UAMY, which I just closed my trade in that like last week from last year. So again, I do some long swings. I hold for like a year or two. I'm not a day trader. I'm too busy with work and kids and dogs that you can probably hear in the background. So this is my setup from the charts. It says 72 to 75, but I think we can get it even a little bit lower than that. But I'll start a position in the 72 area. Hopefully it goes there and sell at 89. USAS, again, I have my long position. So if this doesn't strike, I still have it. But I'm going to be initiating a swing in this 427 to 498 area. So just, the 75 might not go below 75 and I could miss it, but because it could go to 68, I'm just not willing. I'm not willing for the risk. I'll just wait and see if I can get this good entry. Okay, some other stocks that I really like for this year, outside of metals, and I covered some of the other metals I liked in my last video, is GCTS. It's kind of like a turnaround. They had sort of like, their business was failing, their revenues are down, they were strapped for cash. So it's kind of like this turnaround story, but they have some catalyst, which make me think like, hey, it's a good position. So I started adding at 120, and then I built a bigger position around 110, and I think it went like 106 at some point. So if you can get it between 110 and 120, I think that's an ideal place to add this one. I don't really feel like the price is going to move too much until the second half of the year, when they do a little bit of after they've deployed their 5G chipsets, and we get a little bit of information about how large those orders were. The main thing that's interesting is I saw this PR that they have a licensing deal with one of the world's largest satellite providers, which isn't Skylo, but they also have a Skylo partnership. And this is where my thesis is playing, is somewhere in the second half of the year, we will see some price movement. I think it's going to kind of bounce around between 1 and 140 from now until then. So again, I would try to get closer to the dollar to reduce your risk if you are going to want to take a position. The partnership, there's always like rumors about who it could be. Like, could it be Starlink, or could it be GSAT? Like, who knows? But I did watch the earnings that they had recently, and the CEO was like, it's one of the largest satellite providers. So we don't know who it is, but we know it's like a big satellite provider. And he kind of like laughed a little bit, and I was like, seems like it's worth taking a position. Also, Goldman Sachs grew their position by 57.5% in quarter one. And so I think they're also kind of interested and intrigued by this licensing thesis. So that's the thesis. Basically, we're holding it until we get more information about those shipments, and the licensing partner may or may not ever be revealed. We'll have to see. If it is SpaceX, maybe it would be revealed around the time of their IPO to, ride that hype. That would be really good for the stock price if that happened, but who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I think it'll be later in the year. And because of that Space-X IPO, I've also been building since December some space stocks. Space stocks are cyclical, but they're usually pretty good right now. ASTS, if you can get it in the 70s, that's a great buy-in. Rocket Lab, 80s, 70s, it's where you're looking to add. There's no perfect entry. If you get it 80 and 90, like that's fine too. And then Saddle is one of my favorite stocks. I've been adding it since the end of December. So I have a couple different positions in there. Saidu, I don't have a position in that one. I just sold it. But I'd like to buy it back on a dip. I think space stocks are down today. It might be a good time. And then I also really like Redwire. So if you could get it between 7 and 10, like under $11, I think, 14 to 20 is reasonable for this one. I don't shoot super high on my price targets. So, I kind of like, but this is going to be time, start scaling out in June, and then, sell the day of the IPO first thing in the morning, or maybe the day before, because they will probably crash afterwards. I don't know, maybe they won't. Okay, so QuantumScape had their earnings yesterday. They were really interesting for the guidance. Obviously, it's pre-revenue, so they weren't like, hey, we made so much money. But they're going to be expanding into like space, military, defense, in addition to like their EV batteries. Their battery, it's getting closer to, roll out. The Eagle Line, this is the bull thesis. The Eagle Line de-risks the manufacturing, the first ecosystem partner Billings proved commercial model, and now they might even be going into like data centers. They have a 3 to 4 year runway without dilution, which is key. Like if you can get a stock without the big D and it's under $10, the big D being dilution, that's always really helpful. It's not like a guarantee the stock's going to do well. But under 8, I think if you're adding this one under 8, I would hold it long and I would swing it. It's got a lot of cool things going for it. I'm pretty bullish on QS. And so that's it. Those are the main ones I'm looking at right now. I'll talk about some of the AI stocks I like, including like the data center stocks, in another video. I just closed all my positions on those yesterday and this morning and a little bit last week because I thought the wave was finishing. So I don't think right now is the time to buy, but I could be wrong. So again, this is just for, entertainment, sharing some information. This is not investment advice. Elliott wave analysis is not magical. It's subjective. Wave counts change. I think you've seen that from the charts today and the charts last time, even though they didn't change like dramatically, they did change a little bit. So do your own due diligence and manage your risk. And I wish you luck trading.